Hey, what's up, guys? So this is going to be my tutorial on how I edit and mix my vocals. First question that I get the most is what program do I use? I use Adobe Audition version 1.5. There are newer versions of Adobe Audition out, but I seem to have a lot of problems with the newer versions, also with other versions of or other software. I can never get any of them to work properly. This is the only one I've ever gotten to work properly. And I've always used this software right here since I've started and probably always be using it. So that's what I use to record my stuff is Adobe Audition 1.5. Now, one of the first things that you're going to want to do when you get Audition is you're going to want to go into Options, Settings, and make sure Mixdowns says 32-bit, track record mono, 32-bit, premixing 32-bit, and hit OK. Once you do that, you won't ever have to do it again. Those settings will stay every time you open up Audition. So that's the only time you'll ever have to do that. Another thing that you're going to want to do is you always want to record your tracks in mono because it just gives you a better, clearer, more crisp sound in your final product. So whenever time you start a new project, you're going to want to go into I've already have it changed, so it's going to say something different. But this will normally say out one and in one. So what you want to do is go in where it says in one or in one, the bottom button, click it, and then you click left channel, 32 bits, same for all tracks. Okay, and that'll change that setting for every track that you have here. And then you get into your mixing. Uh, Basically, before you do anything, there's not going to be anything here. As you can see, I already have a track here and a little vocal. But one of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set up a noise profile so that when you do your cleanup and you do your noise reduction, the program knows what it's looking for, what you want to take out. One of the best ways to do that is just clear a space that you can record on, like right here, where there's no other sound, no nothing. Make sure your room is or wherever you're recording at, make sure it's as silent as can be. Make sure there's no fans or anything blowing. Make sure it's as dead silent as possible. And then click record. And that's good right there. So now you have, you double click it, and now you have a little audio file here that's nothing but background noise. Now this is the noise that is behind all of your vocals when you record. This noise is always in there. You want to get rid of that. So what you're going to want to do is you select a little area of it that has nothing in it, like the middle part right here. Maybe you listen to it. Hear that background static noise? That's what you want to get rid of. So you go up here, you have three tabs: Files, Effects, and Favorites. Go into your Effects tab, hit Noise Reduction, and then Noise Reduction down here, double click it, and then you want to hit Capture Profile. And what that does is captures the sound that you have selected here, which is the background noise, and that's what you want to get rid of, like I said. And then depending on the quality of your microphone, you can adjust this because you kind of have to find the right balance of noise removal and maintaining the quality of your vocals. Because if you have a really bad mic and you do all the way on high noise reduction, it's going to distort your vocals really badly. So you kind of got to play around with it and see what is the best fit for your equipment. Mine's generally about around here. I could do high, but I normally don't like to do all the way. So I generally have it like about right there. And when you do this, you see this little box here at the bottom, spectral decay rate. That's gonna be like at 65% or something by default. What you want to do is you want to erase that and make it 0. Make sure that it's at 0%, because what that's gonna do when you do your noise removal, it's gonna give your vocals like a really robotic, distortion noise to it. So you don't want that. So you just basically just put spectral decay rate at 0%. And then that's pretty much all you have to do for this. So once you have that, click OK. Now the noise reduction feature has this profile saved into it. So now every time you run it, it won't mess with anything else in the track, just the background noise. And that's what you want to take out. So once you have that, you can just delete that file. Now what I have here is the song that I uploaded a couple days ago, the To My Fans song. And what I did was I put the track back in there, and I recorded the first couple lines. So I'm going to play this for you so that you can hear what the raw audio is going to sound like.
I remember back when no one even knew a Seco, a nobody with big dreams and a bigger ego. I used to watch them GG and Abandon Nation, and I was filled with the fires of determination.
Alright, so that's what the raw audio sounds like. So once you're here and you got, your raw audio and your instrumental, what you're going to want to do is double click the vocal track, and that'll bring you into the edit pane. Now you can always go back and forth. There's a tab up here that says multi-track and edit view. You can do it just by highlighting whichever track you have highlighted. That's what's going to go into the edit pane. But like I said, you want your vocals, so you can just do that. Now the first thing that I do is I silence both sides of the track, like this part and that part. Basically, one of the reasons why you do that is because once you normally, at least in my songs, the way I record and I mix, I lay a lot of tracks over each other, like ad-lib tracks, and just copies of the same track and stuff like that to kind of change the way my vocals sound and everything. So this part will start to lay over each other and will get louder and louder. So you always want to silence this area right here. So all you do is you hold down left click, drag it over, right click, go down to silence. Same thing on this side. Silence. Okay. Now the next thing I do is I go into noise reduction, because we already have the profile saved from what we did earlier. And you just click OK. So that just took all the background noise out of that. And then you go to click pop eliminator, double click, highlight hiss and lots of clicks, and then hit find all levels. And depending on your computer, the quality of your mic, and if you have a pop filter or not, a lot of things are factors in this, but this could potentially be a step that takes a lot of time. But generally, my stuff's pretty clean already, so it doesn't take that much time, and plus this track isn't really that long. But basically that just takes all the clicks and the pops, like the P's and all that stuff like that out of your track. And then the next thing I do is I go into filters, double click graphic equalizer. Now the setting that I always use is I go to pre-master EQ, and then I hit 10 bands 1 octave, and then that's what I use. I just use this preset. A lot of people like to use this one right here, Spit Clear. This is another really good preset that you can use. This is basically a personal preference thing. You can mess around with all of these presets, take a look at all of them, see which ones, some of them do weird effects and stuff like that. Some of them are for clarity and whatnot. And you can just, pick a preset, you can pick, just one that you like out of this, or you can kind of play around with the, with the levels, see, what makes your vocals sound best. And if you do mess around with these and you find something that you like, you can always hit add, and then you just enter a name right here and hit OK, and it'll add that preset in here, and it'll always be there. So when next time that you do another song, you have the preset that you already, designed yourself in there. But like I said, I always use pre-master EQ, 10 bands 1 octave, and then hit OK. And then the next thing I do is I go to FFT filter, and then hit de-esser, and then OK. OK. And then this is a step that I normally don't do. A lot of people like to do it in all their vocals and stuff like that. And for the most part, it's a really good effect to put into your vocals depending on the song and you know, a lot of other things. But reverb, well, basically you go into delay effects, double click reverb, and you have a bunch of reverb settings in here, presets that you can use and mess around with. Basically, for those of you who don't know what reverb is, it basically adds like that echoey, you know, presence to your voice. Like for example, if I hit tighten close and then preview, you can hear what it sounds like.
I remember back when no one even knew a Seco, a nobody with big dreams and a bigger ego.
So you see what it does. Again, you can mess around with, you know, with all these little buttons and stuff like that and find something that works best for you. Or if you just don't like or don't want to use reverb, you don't have to. It's not required. But if you do, that's where you can find it. I'm going to cancel that because I don't hardly ever use reverb unless it's like a hook or something like that, something weird. But my next step after the FFT filter is I go to amplitude, amplify fade, and center wave, and hit OK. Then I go into dynamics processing, which is probably one of the most important steps. I have my preset in here that I use for everything. I'll show you the settings for it so that you can have this preset as well if you want, or you can again mess around with the ones that they have here. Now, first thing that you're going to want to do is go into the traditional tab. Make sure the first box says compress, ratio -3.9, thresholds -20.2, and the next one down is expand 1.1, and then output compression gain 5.9, and then you go into attack release, output gain 0, attack time 0.01, release time 100, input gain 0, and the rest of this should already be the same, should be default, but if not, you know, you can see here what it's supposed to be. And band limiting, you don't worry about that. So you go back to your graphic, and it's gonna look like this, and all you do is just hit this button right here, splines, and it'll give it that little curve, and this is basically what you're gonna want it to end up looking like. And then that's my preset. So you just hit OK. And the last thing I do is normalize. This basically just, you know, basically brings the volume up or down on your vocals, but it does it in such a way to where it kind of brings the low parts in your vocals up and kind of pushes down the high parts. Dynamics processing also does something similar to that. Dynamics processing is more of like it gives that studio sound to it, you know, that compression sound to it. Normalize is more or less on the volume side of that. Generally, I do something like, you know, maybe like 35 or something. I guess that'll be good. You guys hear that train in the background? Asshole. Anyway, and that's the last thing I do is I normalize, and then that's the end of what I do to my vocals. That's generally what I do to all my vocals right there. So now you guys can hear the finished product.
I remember back when no one even knew a Seco, a nobody with big dreams and a bigger ego. I used to watch them GG in Abandonation, and I was filled with the fires of determination.
You see how much better that sounds? Now, obviously, it still doesn't sound finished and polished, obviously, because it's just one track. It's just one vocal track. Generally, I'll double this track right here to kind of give it a bigger sound, maybe turn it down a little bit so it doesn't get too loud. And then, I'll add another separate track down here of another recording to where it kind of doubles my voice a little bit, gives it a more fuller sound, and then I'll add my ad-libs and everything. And that's when you'll get your finished sound, that you hear in my songs. But for all the tracks that you do, for everything that you mess around with, that's how I do my vocals in Adobe Audition. So I hope that this video was somewhat helpful to you guys. I know that that I've been stuttering a lot and, you know, saying a lot and all this crap. But I hope you learned something. If you have any questions about anything else related to this, you can just put it in the comments, and I'll try to respond to you guys as soon as I can. If you have any questions on where to get Adobe Audition 1.5, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to say it in this video or put it, you know, somewhere public. So you can just PM me if you want to know where to get this program. I can tell you where you can go to get it. And that's pretty much it. So again, I hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you guys next time.